Hello.
Hello, is that Melissa?
Hey, it's Melissa.
Hey, Melissa, is it just going to be you or is Heather going to be on here? Oh,
It's only going to be me, and I shouldn't take very long.
okay, great.
Certainly,
Well,
I'll
like I
take
said,
any questions that everybody has, but I just want to talk a little bit about the strategic plan and certainly how we want you
absolutely,
guys to be involved.
you got it. I will give you, once we get to you, I'll give you control. I'll make
Hello.
you a host so you can share your screen and then you'll just send it back to me when you're finished.
No need to do so. I don't even need to share a screen.
Oh, okay, very good.
I'm
Very
going to
good
make it real simple for everybody.
then. There you go. Real easy. Christy, looks like you got some sun.
I have. I keep getting sun every weekend.
They keep
It's
you
okay
locked up
though.
during the week, right?
Yeah, I'm locked up during the week, and on the weekends, I'm out by the pool. I don't
There
leave.
you, hey, there you go. You can't beat it.
How's everybody doing?
Good. We'll give it a few more minutes and let folks join us, and then we will get started. So give us just a few minutes and we'll get going.
Did you have a good vacation, John?
It was good. You know, I'm not much of a beach person.
Uh-huh.
My everyone else in my family is though. So I go and play golf and do
There
other
you
things like
go.
that. So yeah, it was a good week. It was a good week. We got to go deep sea fishing.
Ooh, I
Yeah,
loved
so
it.
we went 18 miles offshore
Wow.
in a little bitty boat. Well, it wasn't that little, but it was little. Um, and we caught red snapper,
Ooh. Did you
which
eat
was
it
really neat.
afterwards?
Well, I actually made some last night, and it was pretty good.
Cool.
All right, so we'll give it a few more minutes here. Okay, gang, why don't we, in the interest of time, just as we do each week, in the interest of time, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome. I think we've got not as many folks with us this week because, as I have learned over the last couple of years or the last year and a half, that During this time of the summer, we have an awful lot of Head Start folks that are taking a little bit of time off as they gear up for the reopenings. This year is probably a little bit different. I know that a lot of folks are having to spend an awful lot of time in the office this time of year to not only get their grants renewed, but also to be planning for the unusual and peculiar times that we live in, particularly with COVID-19 and what that's going to mean for our reopenings this fall. So along those lines, we wanted to get together now. I had sent out an email, I think towards the end of last week, that contained a variety of questions. And the purpose of our call next week, that I believe everyone has received information about, the purpose of our call next week is going to be to talk about reopenings, specifically to talk about challenges and questions that you still may have, but also to share information that we have, that Sally at GOEC has, that anyone and everyone else is sort of talking about these days. So there are a series of questions that everyone was sent. If you haven't received them, I'd be happy to resend them to you. But they're pretty simple and straightforward, and they really are geared towards, I would say, less of a presentation and more of information sharing. It's sort of one of those things that we really want folks to share what's happening in your program, whether you think those things are really good or whether you're concerned about things that are happening in your program or things that may be impacting your program. So we want to make sure that everyone is in the best place they can be moving into the reopening. So if you've not provided information to us via the latest SurveyMonkey about your reopening plans, please do let us know. But next week, we will be talking almost exclusively during our call about reopening. So I would encourage folks to be participating with us and to be prepared to answer those few questions that have been shared. Some of you that may not have been with us last week, you will be receiving a note, hopefully today, from me that talks about the status of our 2020 annual conference. Our executive committee and leadership have made the decision really that given the uncertainty surrounding COVID-19 and the pandemic, that we're going to have to change our in-person 2020 conference to a virtual 2020 conference. We were originally slated to convene September 9th to the 11th at the Galt House in Louisville. We're now going to adjust that to an online only program. That'll be towards the end of September, end of September, early October. Just depends on what we can do in terms of our speakers. Jessica's done a great job of getting not only the speakers at our original conference pulled together, but also all the adjustments necessary, moving it from March to September. And now we've got to change it again from a in-person meeting to a virtual meeting. So that'll take a little bit of juggling on our part, but we hope to be able to share information about what that program and dates are going to look like. Again, that does raise some questions that folks may have about registrations that you've paid. It may raise questions about hotel reservations, how we're going to access the online, things like that. Let me just tell you at the outset that our plan for the virtual conference is that there will not be any registration fee for it whatsoever. We want to make that available to anyone and everyone across the Head Start world in Kentucky and elsewhere for that matter. Anyone who wants to participate, to observe, to partake in any of that programming, we would welcome them to do so. So I hope that you will then make that available to your teams so that they can participate as well. So it will be free, it will be accessible online, and we'll have more details about how that's going to happen in the coming days and weeks. The next question that a lot of folks have is, okay, I've already registered 10 people. I've already paid their registration fees. What's that going to mean for me? Well, we want to be as transparent and helpful as possible on that front. So along those lines, if your program has paid registration fees to KHSA for the 2020 conference, we can do a couple of things. First, if you'd like a refund of those funds, we can provide you a full refund. I realize that a lot of people are operating on different fiscal years and have different reporting requirements, and you may very well need to use those funds for something else looking forward to a next fiscal year. On the other hand, if you have paid those registration fees and you're confident that you'd like to send people to the 2021 conference, which our goal is to convene it in person in the spring of 2021 in Louisville at the Galt House again, we would be happy to simply move those registration fees forward. As far as the hotel reservations are concerned, anything like that, we're currently working with the hotel to get those adjustments and changes in place. But it would be my expectation that anyone who has made hotel reservations or paid anything to the hotel at this point would be able to get a refund on those payments. So we're hoping that everyone will be able, including the association, that everyone will be able to be held harmless in terms of making this change. And in fact, that looking at the way the world is now, we think that this change may actually be a positive thing in that we can engage a much broader group of Head Start professionals from across Kentucky to participate in the conference. So more information on that is coming. Any immediate questions about that? I know that we may be catching some people cold on this, but I think everyone would agree that based on where we are with the pandemic, but more importantly, based where we are with reopenings. What we've learned in our survey thus far is that we have about a third of the Head Start programs that we've surveyed do not yet have a start date. They are still working with school districts. They're still trying to figure it out. Another third of programs will be opening either on schedule in early to mid-August or shifting by a week or two to the end of August, but before Labor Day. And then finally, there's about another third of folks that are going to be opening just after Labor Day or sometime thereafter. So that creates a lot of problems as far as attendance at our conference, because obviously you and your folks need to be in your classrooms. It would not be a good idea, I think, for folks to be out of the classroom either the week you're opening or even the first couple of weeks after you're opening in a normal world, much less in sort of the world we're going to find ourselves in, with all sorts of new challenges and requirements and attendance models and who knows what. So with that, more information will be coming. But again, I wanted to continue to let folks know where we are to share information. So with that, let me turn it over to Christy to see if she's got anything to share. And I'll also call on Sally after that. And then we will get to our featured guest today to talk a little bit about what's happening at Workforce Innovation Board and how the early childhood education world, and particularly Head Start, can play a bigger part in that. So Christy.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everybody. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. As always, I'm going to go back to health and wellness and make sure that I encourage each and every one of you to take time for yourself. Make sure that you're taking time to get away from the office, get away from your phone, unplug for a little bit. And that self-care is going to be important. As a leader, it's our job to lead our staff, and they're going to look to us for that leadership. And if we're not doing what we say, it's going to be harder for them to do those things as well. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself to get through these next couple weeks in this school year. I hope that you each have also seen the NHSA reopening playbook that is out on the NHSA website. You should have received an email about that. And I also hope that each of the programs were able to sign off on the letter that went out to all of our representatives, our senators, to encourage them to support and show our support for the bill that they're looking to send through Congress. So hope, fingers crossed, we'll get somewhere with all of that. I'm sure that many of your programs still need help in COVID funds. So I encourage you to go ahead and send that letter, but also send more letters of support. And maybe our association, John, can look at sending a separate letter in the future, just, reiterating all the great things that have gone on in Kentucky and the wonderful things each of you all have done in your programs with the funding we've been given so far. So hope you all have a blessed week. Stay healthy and wear your mask and wash your hands. Have a great week, y'all.
Yeah, and Christy, along those lines, with the letter that NHSA was asking either individual Head Start grantees or associations to sign on, we sent a letter to each one of Kentucky's congressional members, all 6 districts, and we have heard back from half of them. Yarmouth, Rogers, and Massey have already all signed on, and we're waiting to hear back from the other 3. I expect that they will, so that's really good. So we're beginning to raise the awareness and get that out there. But again, every little bit helps. If folks can send information in, that's fantastic. All right, Sally.
Hey, everybody. I feel like I overloaded your inbox last week with emails, but I wanted to make sure that you guys had the most up-to-date information that I had. So the collab directors have a couple of annual meetings every year, or actually semi-annual meetings every year. And of course, this one was canceled. So they did something virtually, which was really nice. They did Zooms, different rooms, and it was really nice how they set it up. But a lot of the discussion was discussion that we're having within the state and then across the nation. But they did share a lot of really good resources online that change frequently. So I sent that email last week that included all of those that I was provided. And I encourage you guys to look at a lot of those, because I have found that the conversations are the same conversations over and over and over again, without really helping give ideas on actually how to open and what it looks like when you open. So it's all about, yeah, you need to keep your group size small, and you need to keep them together. You need to wear masks. You need to, wash your hands, and all that's well and good, like totally on board with that. But what does that look like for a teacher in a classroom in a site? So really thinking through, and I think some of those resources had more specific information that gives you ideas on how to actually make that happen when you're functioning within your programs, because sometimes your sites may even look different depending on the logistics of the building and how your building is set up, the staff that you have, the parents and the families that you have. So I just wanted to provide those. And then also to let you know, I sent an email requesting any information that or questions that you want to give me to pass on. So I will be participating in a survey, and I think it's through Trial Trends, but it's a written survey, but it's followed up with a conversation. So if there are things that you want asked or information that you want to make sure that people know at OHS, shoot me an email so that I can include that. I've taken notes during all these meetings and, can share that information. But if there are things that you really want to make sure OHS knows and understands, let me know that so that I can convey that. And as always, if you guys have any questions or concerns or need help with anything, please reach out to me. I know that, everything is really different this year. Full utilization concerns me. I haven't heard anybody, nobody's reached out to me saying, hey, we can't do this, or help, I need help with this. But it just really concerns me in these times, simply because I feel like some parents are going to be perhaps a little bit guarded about sending their children to school. And, my philosophy is many kids served as we possibly can. So I don't want folks out there worrying about fighting over kids or trying to recruit, the same children to multiple programs if that's not needed. So if there are issues, concerns, anything like that, please reach out and let me know.
Sally, can we just add that? Would it be okay with you if we just added that to some of our conversation next week as well?
Sure, definitely. John, and we can do this offline, but do you think it would be good to have somebody from KDE next week, or is that too early, or next time, or is that too early? Be kind of a benefit.
It may be that next week we end up hearing about what plans are or what concerns are. And then maybe we can respond with a follow-up, maybe the following week with somebody from KDE to discuss that. I think my concern is, and it's yours as well, is it very well could be the reason we're not hearing anything about it is that people literally aren't thinking about it yet. So
And-
That is a definite possibility.
And Sally and John, I think that the preschool guidance is supposed to come out today. Preschool.
Oh, today? Oh,
Yeah.
good. Okay, because I thought it was going to be a little bit later.
Sally, a lot of it too may be, I know we've been given the guidance from OHS that, there is that flexibility with enrollment this year. So speaking for myself, I am not going to be fully enrolled based on the applications that we already have in hand. The
Right.
district is aware of that and we've talked about it. So it's not that we're fighting over the kids just are not interested.
Right. So that's great, Rhonda. If you're working that out at a program, at that site level, that's great. What concerns me is if there is an issue where somebody doesn't have that same philosophy for
I
whatever
just wonder
reason.
though if that's why maybe some of the programs aren't reaching out because they know there is that flexibility there.
And it could be. I just want to make sure that, because, and I think a whole lot of it may have to do with also the preschool enrollment, because let's face it,
Mhm.
enrollment is based on kids enrolled. So unless there's some flexibility there, preschools are going to get hit really, really hard if kids don't show up. So again, it's that balance, and I know everywhere is different, and I just want to make sure that I'm supporting you guys in whatever way you need.
So Sally, that document was just now released.
Oh,
So
well, good.
I sent it to John. I sent it to John, and then John can send that out.
got it.
Perfect. Thank you, Christy.
No problem.
This is
There's
Tracy
not-
Jenkins.
There's not a lot of
wanted
guidance though.
I wanted to ask Rhonda and any of the other directors that's on here. You were talking about your enrollment and not being able to find kids. I think that's the same case for all of us, but are you planning to make some of your enrollment slots open to kids completely virtual? Right now we are planning 2 days on, 2 days virtual for, groups and splitting the groups into two. But the closer we get to opening, the more realistic it is that we're not going to meet our full enrollment. So are you making it at this point available to all kids to have online virtual, the whole thing, or just certain ones, or how are you handling that?
We are offering both. We're going to do the 2 days in classroom and 2-day virtual or all virtual. But the parents, we've had several that are just not interested in the virtual. I think a lot of them thinks it's kind of like those NTI packets were kind of threw together last year, last minute, and we sent it all home with the kids. So we're trying to encourage parents, it's not going to be like it was last year. We've actually purchased those Hatch tablets, those with that Ignite software. So we're going to use those for the kids in the classroom as well as those that are doing it completely virtual.
So how will you take attendance on those that are doing all virtual?
That I'm not sure of. Actually, with those Hatch tablets, it logs, it lets you know when they have used those tablets.
Yep.
And that data is converted over into TSG for you.
So it sounds like you've had a conversation with your program specialist about full virtual doing that. Was there any concerns? You mentioned flexibility. That's really the only thing my program specialist will say, no matter what the question is that they don't have much information, but they're giving us flexibility to do it how you need to do it.
Who is your program specialist, Tracy?
Jessica Poyer.
Okay. Mine's Tansy, but she's pretty much saying the same thing. It's up to you as the
Yeah.
agency to decide if you want to do home base or whatever. I mean, the flexibility is there.
We just haven't pulled the trigger on saying to parents, okay, you have the option to do it fully online. We're just kind of waiting to see how many kids we're going to be able to get to come on that 2 on 2 off schedule.
Right. In one of our districts, Tracy, we're actually going to have, the district is having the teacher for the virtual, the kids are going to be logged in at 8 o'clock in the morning and they're going to be in classes, in session all day, just as if they were at school. They're just going to be home doing it on a computer, looking at the teacher. So we're actually going to have one of our Head Start teachers doing that virtually, because where our numbers are so low, we're not going to need as many teachers. So one of those will be doing it virtually.
So your plan is to live stream the entire day? That teacher?
Yep. For those that want it. But then, like I said, we're going to offer home base. We're going to offer whatever they want in order to get some services.
All right, thanks.
Great question, y'all. That's Tracy, and that's basically what we're doing. We have offered families, they are getting the option up front, either full day services or virtual. And we're doing a Samsung tablet with ABC Mouse.
I think those hats are Samsung also.
Yeah.
It's got their Ignite software on it.
Yeah.
Okay, gang, so we'll have a much deeper conversation about this next week, but if you do have any questions between now and then, shoot them to us, shoot them to Sally, shoot them to your colleagues, and we'll be ready to discuss them next Monday. For the rest of our program today, we're joined by Melissa Aguilar. Melissa is with Kentucky's Workforce Innovation Board. Sally and I had a chance to have a conversation with her and her colleagues week before last, before I went on vacation, sort of about the Workforce Innovation Board and their current strategic plan, and how that strategic plan increasingly has components in it that are dealing with early childhood education, and how early childhood education, and particularly Head Start programs, may be able to play a larger role in their efforts, but more importantly, in some of their advisory and working group efforts. So I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole, Melissa, because I certainly don't know as much about it as you. So if you could, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and let you share about sort of what's happening with WIB and sort of what your thoughts and plans are.
Sure. Thank you so much. Can you hear me, first of all, is the question?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I just want you all to know I'm actually on travel, so I'm not sharing the video because there's not a lot of reception here. Hopefully the next time I'm able to be with everyone, I'll be able to share video. So a couple of things. First of all, thanks for having me. When we started out with the KWIB, and I don't know how much you all know about the KWIB, so I'll give you like a 5-cent tour of what that is. It's the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. That is a board that is mandated by federal statute of the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. So every state has a state workforce board, and we are responsible for reporting to the governor the direction and the policies that go along with that direction on connecting workforce education and economic development. So we have been working with this governor, of course, at this point, and he has approved our strategic plan, actually, that was under the last governor. And believe it or not, that doesn't happen very often. But the good thing is that the strategic plan was actually written by business people, so that doesn't tend to change a whole lot. So if you want to pull up the strategic plan, and I can send this link out after this call, it's under the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. If you just Google Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board, you'll find the strategic plan on the main site. So when that happened in 2018, we started the strategic plan. We got the green light to go with Governor Beshear in January to continue. He had said that he wanted to execute another entity called the Kentucky Works Collaborative. And that entity is all of state government partners that is responsible for some piece of the strategic plan. And so as of July 7th, Governor Beshear signed an executive order that created the Kentucky Works Collaborative. And so at this point, we are just now starting that back up. We had one under the last governor. And of course, as he went out and Governor Beshear came in, we had to have a new executive order to do so. But specifically, what I want to gauge you all on is where you feel like you need to be and what support you need to be able to carry out your jobs. More than ever, now that we are in COVID times, we continue to have multiple conversations with employers, and employers are telling us that childcare, early childhood education, early childhood care is pivotal right now in being able to get people back to work. And, you know, not only that, but we also understand that you all are helping to form the foundation of, you know, the generation to come of our leaders. And so we think it's absolutely critical for every single one of you to be at the table, for you to have a voice, for you to give us an idea of what is specifically needed, how you need to connect with others, for example. If you're working with families, as we know that you do, what are the resources that the families need and how do we get those to them? So really what I want to do today is to first of all, send out the link with the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board plan. I'll highlight in that plan a few areas where I feel like we absolutely need your thoughts and your suggestions and your comments, and even more importantly, what you're hearing from families as you work with them that they need to be able to, one, be self-sustainable, two, get the education and training that they need, or three, get into the workforce. Because that's really what we want to do, is to try to make sure we have all the support mechanisms in place as much as possible to help families and to help individuals, and to reach out and have those conversations with those families. One piece that I'll also additionally talk just a bit about, and I'll send these links out as well, is we've had a lot of conversation about workforce participation, and we've had a lot of conversation about the benefit cliff. If you're not familiar with the benefit cliff, you know, that's simply saying that a person who is on state assistance, at what point, if they were to go get a job, for example, or if they have a job and they're still getting state assistance, at what point are they losing more than they're gaining? And we so understand at this point that child care assistance from the state will either make you or break you. And many times when an individual is working a job and, for example, the employer offers them, you know, 50-cent raise or $1 raise or another position, they're really scared about what the benefit loss would be if they take that 50-cent raise or if they take that new position, because they truly feel like it's going to be more detrimental than it is rewarding. And so we have formulated a benefit cliff analysis calculator, which will help families understand where they need to be. And so this is brand new, kind of hot off the press at this point. We are this fall going to hold trainings for anyone that's interested to learn how to use that benefit calculator and to understand and help how to help families understand how to help themselves, because we don't want anyone to, you know, for anything to be detrimental to them. We only want them to succeed. So this benefit cliff calculator will hopefully help that along. Additionally, we have a calculator for expenses coming out during the month. So it also helps you understand, you know, what the price of childcare is in your specific county. How much is food in your specific county? What are the resources you need to come in to balance your budget that's going out? So those are a few of the items that we've been talking about. And again, having a new executive order, all of early childhood education is represented through the Education Workforce Cabinet as being a part of that cabinet. However, I want to dig a little bit deeper, and my board wants to dig a little bit deeper. And we probably at some point within the next couple of months will be forming an early childhood education committee. I don't want to duplicate any committees that's out there. And so certainly if this is a way to talk with everyone and you all end up being part of that committee, I would rather use it than reinvent the wheel. But I really want to make sure that we include you all in the conversation as we move forward. And I want to make sure that we understand at the ground level what you all need to be successful and to help your children and their families be successful as well. So at that point, I'll stop and certainly take any questions if you have any.
Melissa, I'm not sure there are any questions right now, but I do know that there will likely be some interest from either KHSA or some of the folks on this call or with programs individually, particularly as it relates to how these plans are going to be active within different communities and perhaps how that early education Head Start voice can be better represented, not just in the communities, but also in some of the efforts that you just referenced.
Yeah, so we have an initiative called Work Ready Communities, and certainly many times when I am out in the local counties talking about that Work Ready Community Initiative, there normally is a group of individuals at the county level, and probably some of you on the phone may be a part of those groups, but they work on becoming work ready in their county. So for example, if you see a sign on the road, for example, in the beginning of your industrial park, or maybe at your chamber, somewhere close where everyone can see it, and it says work ready in progress, or it says work ready, that means that there's a group of dedicated individuals in your county that's working on work ready status. And so I would invite, number one, if you're not a part of that group, we certainly want you to be a part of that group at the grassroots level. And then secondly, that work ready status involves early childhood education and care as well. Because again, if you don't have early childhood education, that piece is critical to lifelong learning. Number two, if you don't have early childhood care, that piece is critical to be able to be self-sustaining and be able to be in the workforce, or even to have education and training. So we want to make sure that you're reaching out to those folks. And if you don't know who the lead is for your county, all you have to do is contact me, and I'll be glad to get you in touch with that person. But it really is critical, again, that all of you are in the conversation, and so that we can understand, where the rubber meets the road, what you're having to deal with, and what supports you need to have in place.
Yeah, so I think, speaking for the association, to the extent that when you're getting those things ramped up and when there's more information to be shared in the fall, we are happy to be a conduit and to sort of raise the visibility of it with the Head Start programs and begin to get them more engaged in those efforts. So I think we recognize this fall is a little different than other falls, but I know that there will continue to be interest in it, particularly as folks look at the linkages between early childhood education and both short-term and long-term economic development.
Great. So what I'll do as a follow-up to this call is when I get back in the office, I will make sure I send you the information that I just spoke about. And then, if anyone wants to be very significantly involved in, committee work, for example, we would love to have a couple of representatives from Head Start be there at the table. And again, having grassroots knowledge and experience there is so very critical for us. But thanks so much for allowing me to be on the call. And maybe the next time I'm with you guys, I can share a little bit more content as well.
You got it. Thank you so much for making the time. And I know that as we begin to get back in the habit or the ability to have in-person meetings, we certainly want to make sure that we've got folks like yourself and others that can join us. So thank you very much for making the time. Are there any other topics that we need to discuss for today? Let me just open that up and kick it back to Christy and see if there's anything she'd like to share or ask. Otherwise, I'll send an update following this call that again shares the questions for next week and share some of the information that we discussed here in terms of that NHSA playbook, some of that Kentucky guidance that was just released while we were on this call, and links to all of our previous Zooms and whatnot. So any questions, thoughts, comments?
I don't have anything, John. Thank you all so much for jumping on here today. Rhonda, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
All right. Thank you all so much, and good luck this week. I know folks are working awfully hard to get ready for the fall. So thanks for everything you're doing, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.